Try before we die, everybody. Welcome back to the Whiskey Review Show, where we don't know what we're drinking, but we will tell you what we're thinking. And we have a huge announcement, but before that announcement, we'd just like to say thanks to all the YouTube subscribers. And please feel free to share these videos wide and far. We're not ashamed. Actually, we're kind of proud of what we're accomplishing here. But now for the big announcement. Mal's in a different seat.
Yes! Thank God! I got a little bit nervous there.
See, here's the deal, right? Now, truly, you are my right-hand man.
Well played. Well played.
Yes. Actually, we asked Felix back on the show. Felix, it's so great to see you. Welcome back to New Hampshire.
One more time.
You know what we say about the bitter end, right? You've done it. You've achieved it. You finally have made it. You are at the bitter end.
And happy.
At least there's a bar. Felix, you know the drill here. We don't know what we're drinking, and we'll tell you what we're thinking. And the only way we know what we're going to be drinking is the magic box. Would you press the button? Now, you have to press it like it owes you money, and you have to hold it for at least 7 to 10 seconds. And we're getting after bottle number 210, which puts us, by the way, on the smallest whiskey shelf in the bar. It's the section of the bar we call the smart gun area. It's between the two big 50-bottle shelves. It's the last shelf on the way to the snooker room. And there are some exceptional bottles over there. We'll see everybody at the smart gun.
210.
Bottle number 210. Oh, boy. All right, headed off to the smart gun area. Hey, everybody. This is the smart gun area. You can't see it, but the smart gun's there. So, 198, 199, 200, 204, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're here. Just to be clear, everybody, if we had hit bottle 212, it would have been a 1966 Glen Grant. It truly is the luck of the draw. But it turns out it's a Glen Grant independent bottling from Gordon and MacPhail. This is a 15-year-old. We have no age statement in terms of the year of distillation. I can see on the back label a 43% ABV. Now, Glen Grant, Speyside, single malt Scotch whiskey, as we know. Speysides are Highlands, but not all Highlands are Speysides. Glen Grant, one of the most well-known whiskeys in terms of its ability to age and hold its flavor in oak casks for 50, 60, 70 years. Super excited about this 15-year-old independent bottling from Gordon and MacPhail. We'll spend more time with the bottle and the label at the bar. Look forward to seeing you back there. So it turns out there was no bottles over there, guys, so we're just going to call it a wrap. I'll see you later. I'm not going to open anything in your absence.
Sure.
Glen Grant, gentlemen. Speyside release.
Seriously.
This is a independent bottling. Recently we did a WTF about independent labels. This is one of the several Gordon and MacPhail labels.
Now, how is that? Because it says Glen Grant on the bottle. I would think that's a Glen Grant.
Right. So it's interesting, again, the European use of the English language. Produce of Scotland, which would be product of Scotland here. So this is a Glen Grant distilled, but bottled by Gordon and MacPhail.
I see.
Right, so in independent labels, they can acknowledge where it came from. In fact, if the three of us went to Scotland and bought a cask and bottled it, which, by the way, we're going to do, it'd be more than three of us, though. We could acknowledge the distillery. We just can't say that it's a distillery release. So this is it. But when you independently label, you can acknowledge where it was distilled. Now, sometimes, due to pricing and blah, 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 they won't even acknowledge the distillery. It'll just be Speyside region whiskey. But in this particular example, we have a Gordon and MacPhail, 15-year-old Glen Grant. In these labelings, if we know the year of distillation, they often put a little tag here on the neck. So we have no neck. I can tell you that this bottle has been in this bar for probably at least 7 to 8 years, right? And so this was bottled a while ago. So we go 8 years ago from 2022. So we're at 2014, something along those lines. And then you go back 15 years. So this is a mid-90s distillate that was then aged, purchased by Gordon and MacPhail, and bottled, released as a 15-year-old. If you spend time on some whiskey websites that sell whiskey, you can learn a little bit more about that process. I'm not going to plug anything because they haven't sent us any checks yet, and we are open to conversation. I am going to get this opened and breathing.
But if we went and bought a cask, down on the bottom here, you could see bottled by Bitter End Distilleries.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it would say distilled by, a product of, but bottled by, right? Because it's not a distillery bottling. But let's get this opened and breathing.
Would we use plastic?
For the bottle, in case we dropped it.
In case a lot of things.
Here we go. I love being right under the speaker for the pop. I almost wonder if the cork separated from the cap, but I think we're good. It's been here for a while, and I didn't wet the cork. We should be good now. Oh, that had oboe. That had Peter and the Wolf. Boom, boom, boom. Right.
Deep resonance.
What are you picking up?
Very lively.
Deep resonance. Boom.
I like the oboe. I thought that was a good word.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything for you? Our friend Chucky has an oboe trailer. I mean, a hobo trailer. I really like the Glen Grants. As I noted over there earlier, they're known for their stability. They handle the oak well over time. 43% ABV. So, Glen Grant. Favorite here in the bar, interestingly enough, the Major's Reserve.
Yes.
You'll recall. A no-age statement, very affordable, entry level, based upon the Major James Grant back in the day, in tribute to him, the Major's Reserve. We've had several bottles of the 66. We've had the Glen Grant Decades bottle, which included casks from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm trying to think of another Glen Grant that we've had. Anything jumping out to you?
The Decades one was the one that I was thinking of.
Yeah,
that was
a very
impressive.
blue box.
Yeah.
Will you look up Glen Grant in the book? Now, I'm going to ask you a question, Felix. I just mentioned, for more than the first time, the 1966 Glen Grant.
Right.
Why would there be this attraction to the 66 Glen Grant in this bar?
Oh no, seriously? 66 bitches?
Yes! So we have a mutual friend who's actually been on set before with us. And this is for you, Mr. White, who one time declared that he would buy dinner if he was the oldest person in the bar.
No, it's...
At the table. And because he was confident
Yes.
he wasn't the oldest person at the table.
Oh, yes.
Right,
If he's
right.
the oldest,
He'll buy.
The oldest person at the table buys dinner.
Correct.
Right.
And
it
he
was,
thought he was younger.
and it was his proposal. We had that same day, Malcolm,
The night before.
gone through the years we were born.
Because I said, oh, I'm the oldest one there. And he goes...
You're 67.
And I was like, 67. He goes, oh, I'm from 66.
And
I'm
I'm
like,
69.
So you're
I
older
wasn't
than me.
there, 61. Chuck wasn't there, 60.
Correct.
Right. And so we're like, okay. Because we're looking around at the table going, we did this last night. You are the oldest, but if that's the game you want to play. And so it went down and it went around, how old are you, what year were you born? 67, 69. I think Bob Noxious was there in that 67 range. And it came to our friend Kevin, who went, and he got excited and he stood up out of his chairs and he drew 2 6-shooters like, who's the guy from the cartoons? Yosemite Sam.
Yosemite Sam.
Bap, bap, bap. 1966, bitches! And we all sat there and went like,
I'm taking the parachute, rabbit.
yeah, that makes you the oldest. And it was like this very slow motion I'm getting some hints from the crew who are like the finger counting, like, oh, wait a minute. And then everybody was like, yeah, can we see the wine list? Yeah, we'd like some more appetizers. So you're absolutely right. The 66 Glen Grant holds a special place in our heart. While it finishes breathing, Mal, what do we know about Glen Grant?
All right, so to refresh, this was what I mentioned last time. This was a chic success in Italy, the Glen Grants. And what we did go through is that they are used regularly by Gordon and MacPhail. Glen Grant itself remains one of the world's biggest selling whiskies, and much of its volume is in younger ages.
Especially in the younger ages. Yes, I knew that.
So, especially in the important Italian market.
Yes.
Right? So we've gone through that. So they actually have our bottle.
Oh.
So the Glen Grant 15-year-old, Gordon and MacPhail, 40% volume.
43.
43. Oh, so maybe it isn't then.
Slightly different.
Slightly different, because on this one, they have a medium amber, the nose is some sherry, body is light to medium, palate, sherry, soft, nutty, dry, mellow, and warming.
Okay. So we have no tasting notes.
So that's interesting that is not in here.
They have a 40.
What's interesting, you're saying they sell to Italy?
Yes. Big market.
Oak casks. So the Scots whiskey industry markets globally, obviously,
Yes.
right? And so each country that they distribute in, there'll be unique bottlings to that market, and each country they distribute to will end up with sort of like, oh, we really do well here. Sort of like, hey, I'm big in Japan. Right, and so the Italian market, the French market, the Asian market, the American market. We have a number of singletons here, one released for the European, one released for Asia, one released for American. And I knew this piece about the young Glen Grants being very popular in the Italian market. So I'm curious, here we've had the 12-year-old, I think the 10-year-old, the Majors Reserve, the 66. This will be the first 15 we've tried here. And though it's an independent bottling, what I like is it's a slightly higher ABV. It's not at the minimum, which means they weren't just focused on quantity. There's an element of quality as well. They said at this ABV, that's the taste we're looking for. Because remember, they bought these casks from Glen Grant and they determined the future of the cask. How much longer to age it? Should they change the barrels? And what ABV should they release it at? That had nothing to do with Glen Grant and everything to do with Gordon and MacPhail. Let's just talk, Malcolm, briefly about color. A Speyside release. I am very light on color.
Yes. I'd go again with that straw, that light yellow.
It is very golden in that very light use of the word. Felix, anything that you want to contribute to color?
Yellow like a crayon.
Interesting, right? And the more of the yellow of the crayon that comes together, the darker it will be.
Yeah.
But as you use that crayon and spread it on the white paper, it becomes lighter than the actual crayon. I agree, because this liquid is a little darker than what's in my glass.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what it smells like. It punches above its weight.
Yeah.
It's a 46. It's a 48% alcohol on the nose. Yet I can clearly see on the label, still from where I sit, 43. It punches above its weight. Relaxes quickly.
Something fruity.
Floral.
Floral. Probably better.
Wet hay.
But not like wet hay. No, I was gonna say not like a rose floral, like grass.
Right. Yeah. Agreed.
Wet hay, grass. Yeah.
Pleasant. There was another episode you've been on, Felix, where we talked about autumn. For me, I think we're into summertime. I live in rural New Hampshire, and I'm very, in fact, I have neighbors who cut hay. This is very summery to me.
Late summer then.
Yep.
when you cut hay.
Well, yeah, first cut, second
Yeah.
cut, and
Oh,
if
okay.
weather is
I would even say,
on your side, third cut.
say clover.
Right, but not uncommon to have clover, alfalfa, and straw in your cuts, right? Depending upon are you growing for mulch, are you growing for feed, all that.
And definitely some legs. Holy moly, I didn't realize that.
So Mal's noticing some oily content.
Viscosity?
Yeah, some viscosity, right? Exactly. If you've watched any Castrol motor oil commercials, right? They'll talk about viscosity. Oh, I see it after the fact.
Yeah.
It really hangs in there. I've got excellent examples of legs strewn about my glass.
And that's weird because that should mean more alcohol content, which it's not.
Well, it's not as high as it could be,
Yeah.
but the oiliness can be a factor in its casking. It can be a unique factor of the barley crop that year. There are so many factors and features into what make each run of whiskey unique. In fact, we talked about that in a recent Whiskey Today's Fact, where the same exact label, bottle, description, everything can be different 3 years apart because all the ingredients are not exactly the same, yet at face value, they are exactly the same. Right? But the
Does
water,
that consider the mix of the other ages?
again, so this could have 25-year-old Glen Grant in here, but the youngest Glen Grant in here is a 15, and so they have to label it a 15. Just because it says 15 does not mean every whiskey in here is 15 years old. Just the youngest whiskey is 15.
And I'm asking the consistency that you just cited, could that be because of the mix? Because of bringing something older into it to keep it more...
Absolutely. As Mal noted, and we're going to taste in a second, but as Mal noted in the book, their 15 that they bring up is a 40%. The 15 we're trying is a 43. Let's have a taste. You should hold the bottom. We can get a nice ring. So right off the bat, this tastes like a traditional whiskey in the front. This has whiskey characteristics, as you might imagine, but then it seems to transition pretty quickly into some subtle floral, maybe summer hayfield notes. So for me, again, the beginning is classic whiskey,
Front-loaded.
transitioning
I'm
into
saying
floral notes.
heavier up front,
Yep.
smoother on the way back, doesn't go past like here-ish.
Oh, yeah, I will agree with you. It doesn't hit the Adam's
doesn't
apple.
get down.
Yep. Mal.
I'm sort of going to be against the grain. And maybe it was because of the size of the gulp I took. But almost I didn't feel that smoothness that you guys are talking about. It's very tasty.
We felt it was punchy in the beginning and then smooth.
See, I think it was punchy at the back.
Oh.
That's what I felt. I almost felt like, oh yeah, I took my sip and I was going down, I was enjoying it to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm going to take more of this in. And as soon as I took that little bit extra, I got hit with something in the back that made me like, oh, okay, I'm drinking a scotch. That's right, I'm drinking a scotch. But there's some flavors in there. There's definitely some sort of
So it
flowery.
sounds like we're in agreement
I
that
got
there are some
peppery
classic
tobacco.
whiskey. It sounds like we're in agreement with classic whiskey. Depends on which part of the drink we're having.
Correct.
Right. This is interesting because I'm going to pull something out to try this with, at least for me. This peppery tobacco, that's an interesting thought. You were going with flowery, floral.
Floral. There's something to it. But this peppery tobacco. At the back. At the back.
At the back.
I didn't think of it before. It's like a cigar.
It could pair well. And I'm not a nicotine man whatsoever, zero. But that peppery, it is very subtle. It's one crack of the
At the
cracker.
back.
It's
It's
like
there.
before it goes down.
Yeah.
It's like saying goodbye. Pepper, tobacco, bye. And then nothing. Nothing through here.
So let's talk a little bit about, and I mean briefly, Do you know why the Speyside region is called the Speyside region?
Gonna go with no.
Okay. Bring
The
us up
river.
to speed. The river,
Spey.
which is well known for.
Water.
True. Remember the Braden Orach, the Speyburn?
Yep.
What did the Braden Orach mean? The golden,
How do you remember all this?
the golden salmon.
Oh.
So what I have here, gentlemen, and I may be the only one, but I have some peppered salmon. And so I am going to be quite curious because I pick up on that pepper. We have a Speyside distillery known for the River Spey, named after that region, right? And the salmon fishery that exists there. I know everybody has salmon, but I also don't go to McDonald's, right? And I know it's McDonald's, right? I'm going to try a piece of
McDowell's.
smoked peppered salmon with this slightly peppered Speyside whiskey. That's what I'm experiencing, and I'm looking to try that. I know it might not be your game.
You didn't know what we were gonna randomly get.
How could I? Correct. I love magic.
I love magic. Okay.
See, I'm gonna actually.
I am blown
take
away.
A piece of the cheese, please.
Yes. Felix, would you like a piece of the cheese or the salmon
No,
or a
I am
berry?
going to watch both of you. I am in love with the pepper and the tobacco.
Right. You can see the pepper all over the top of this salmon.
Yes.
Yes. I am super excited for this experience.
And the reason I picked the cheese because of pepper jack.
Well, that's not a pepper
That's
jack.
not
no.
a pepper jack cheese.
But the cheese.
Oh.
To create your own
Create
pepper
your
cheddar.
own in your pepper jack in your mouth.
But it's a pepper cheddar he's creating.
No?
No, I like that.
Yeah?
It takes the edge, adds some creaminess to it. Subdues the pepper, but you still can taste it.
Okay. So if this was a sporting event, and I did this, what has just occurred?
Touchdown.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just scored a touchdown.
Oh, you just got 100%? Okay, here we go.
Well, you gotta. I'm gonna recommend you do a little bit with the pepper on top.
So call this a field goal.
All right. So you scored.
I put points on the board.
Okay. All right. That's a nice piece of fish right there.
Oh, that's a nice drink.
That works.
That's a nice drink. You try that. Oh my God. Interesting how food and liquor
Work.
together.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that pepper on top. It's a light fish, very creamy.
Whew.
The smoke is so subtle in the fish. And then this nice classic whiskey with a peppery finish.
Okay.
It's not.
I see where you're going
They're
with
not fighting each other, and I know this isn't your
Nope.
preferred diet.
But that's definitely complimentary.
And the pepper hangs in there.
Yes.
It's a lingering.
So if this is considered
Spice.
a field goal,
Yeah.
that is definitely a touchdown.
yeah,
That might be 8 points.
yeah. Well, we went for the 2-point conversion,
Yeah,
and we got
no
it.
doubt. No doubt. Because that really is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So again, as our friend Ethan Kelly from Macro Wines pointed out, that pairings can be environments, pairings can be situations and weather, but it can also be food. Today we learned a lesson about a peppered smoked salmon and a 15-year-old independent bottling from Gordon and MacPhail, a Glen Grant, with a pepper finish and a pepper fish, touchdown 2-point conversion.
And I will say this, which makes this really interesting. So from my standpoint, not being a fish eater, I almost would say if I was having that, I would have the drink. I would switch it. The role reversal will be different. This
Right.
will complement my salmon.
Right, you would pair the drink with the salmon, not the salmon with the drink.
Correct.
Yeah. And so, again, this is just about the magic, and it just worked out. I just happened to go to the shop this morning, thought about what are possible things we could wind up, and we're going to wrap it up here with a toast. I actually got this in hopes or wonderment of, might we wind up in Isla with a smoked maritime whiskey? And so I thought this would be the surprise for that. We have not arrived there, but because of
What a surprise here.
your notice of the peppery finish, and I was like, you know what? That salmon I have stashed back there is a pepper finish. Okay, well, let's see what the crew has for us for a toast tonight. Here we go. All right, I'm not going to read it out to my head. I'm just going to read it out loud.
Yeah.
One time, here we go. Here's to Dame Fortune. May she always smile on you, and may you never meet. We have a double here. Here's to Dame Fortune. May she always smile on you, and may you never meet her daughter, Misfortune.
Not today.
No, we have come across good fortune.
Wow.
I'm not a salmon fan, but I will tell you, if I was having that for dinner and I had a choice for stuff to drink, I would have said, hey, can I have the Gordon and MacPhail's Glen Grant 43%?
I appreciate this idea that if I'm having this, I'm having that, rather than if I'm having this, I'm looking for that.
Correct. That's amazing. That's unreal.
Please, sir, may I have more?
But the peppery, I wouldn't even call it tobacco. I'd call it that peppery finish.
It is peppery, but I'm getting a.
Right, for me,
I'm saying tobacco
the
because
focus.
of the burn.
Yep.
The
And it would have been interesting that if you ever
not
have a cigar,
nicotine. You were
it
right
would have
to
been
say.
interesting.
You were right to say not nicotine.
Right. I think the focus is on the peppery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And the peppery is such an intense spice, and nicotine is a potent experience. Right. But I think the smoked of the fish with the pepper
So, yeah.
and the pepper finish,
Okay,
this is a good match. And so if we were running a club or a restaurant, we would recommend this.
With that for our meal.